Marcelo, where are you from?
Hi all. I'm from Argentina. I'm joining from Fort Lauderdale.
I was born in Uruguay.
Oh, okay.
Ur-
Thank you, bro.
Uruguayo.
Uruguay.
Amazing game last night.
It was a great game. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we enjoyed it very much.
Sorry about Uruguay.
Yeah, pretty unexpected, really. We
It's
were looking forward to playing Uruguay in this coming game, but instead we are playing Cabo Verde.
I know that my heart is broke. I didn't want to have to send Bozinia home so early.
I'm waiting for at least two more speakers that are supposed to be here. Um,
You have speakers today? Okay.
nice one, Anatoly.
I believe all of us are speakers here today.
Pretty much, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
thank you, Ziv. I appreciate that. Okay, well, I guess we're just gonna jump right ahead and get a head start. So, thank you all so much for coming to the Global Cohort. My name is SAGIE. I'm the founder of SAGIE, which is standing for Shape a Great Impact Everywhere. We are a global tech ecosystem bringing people together around culture, opportunity, and positive impact. And I created this company and ecosystem because I've seen patterns in different ecosystems and communities that we just have a lot of communities out there, very decentralized, very isolated, geographical, vertical, ethnical based, and there's no one really bringing everyone together. So what I'm forming here is actually rooted on a few very unique elements. Number one is the Superminds architecture, which is essentially the reason why we're having the cohort today. And this actually is a great demonstration because the Superminds is essentially a decentralized group of people working together as a collective to solve difficult problems. And this is actually to emphasize that we can create higher form of intelligence, human intelligence, when we work as a collective rather than individual. We're also working on the open source principles of trust, accountability, transparency, collaboration, contribution, and forkability. And we're also all about the philosophies of collective work and positive mindset. So I can definitely talk about SAGIE and what I do for ages, but I really want to set the tone for this conversation. There's no panel. Obviously, everyone is here to speak, but there's no panel. Everyone can work as a collective. There's no dominance in the room. Everyone here has extraordinary caliber in their own careers and backgrounds. We'll hear a little bit about that. And we're bringing people from Miami, New York, Latin America, Dominican Republic, London. So we have people from across the globe talking about, and they're going to talk about their ecosystems and their experience with it. And basically, the global cohort is going to be recurring monthly series every fourth week of the month. So this is something that's going to be ongoing, and it's just a pilot and introductory session to the series. And we're basically going to share real challenges and talk about solutions, work as a collective to solve these problems, like how ecosystems are formed and what enables collaboration and what blocks certain progress, whether it's capital, talent, which we'll talk about today. And I would like to also share the topics that we're going to be talking about today, which is the collaboration models, how different ecosystems are working in a collaborative way and or in a competitive way. We'll find out. Access to capital in different industries or different regions, talent and retention. What happens after a student graduates? Is he going to stay in that ecosystem, or is he going to travel to another country because the opportunities are better there? How can we create an unbiased flow of talent and keep them in our own home? And last thing would be the regulatory blockers in different regions. So every region has their own regulatory issues, and we can talk about that. So without further ado, I would like to have everyone kind of share about who they are, what ecosystem they're a part of, or what they're building, and what's going to be their focus for today. We have quite a few people that sign up as speakers. But even if you haven't, feel free to open your camera and share a little bit about yourself. Try to keep it concise, about 1 minute to 2 minutes, so we can actually stay on time. And yeah, really excited for that. Amelia, how about we start with you?
That sounds great. So, hi everyone. My name is Amelia Martinez Holt, and I am the founder of Strategic Lead. My work sits at the intersection of high-stake decision-making, leadership alignment, and execution under pressure. And I've been doing that for about 10 years now. Prior to that, I spent about 20 years in corporate law inside global companies, Fortune 50s, working on very complex transactions. And in addition to that, I am also an ICF Master Certified Coach. So what I bring is that I look at the ecosystem from both lenses, the strategic structure and also the human dynamics. I am currently also an enterprise track, readiness track ambassador for the Miami FinTech Club. And I am helping to advance these conversations as well with them. My core belief is that ecosystems do not really scale because people are in agreement in theory and excited in theory, but that they scale when the right people can make clear, aligned decisions under pressure. And that's what I help them do.
Amazing, Amelia. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sandra from New York. How about you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Sandra Buati Ramos. In terms of background, I'll keep it pretty short. I'm a scholar practitioner, spent time in finance and political communications and higher education being the bulk of my career experience. But I focus primarily on career development, ecosystem development, and curricular development. But I think SAGIE and I met specifically through a separate ecosystem that didn't necessarily kind of live up to its purported values or expectations in practice. And I think much of that we'll talk about today. But for me, even the sense of like a community and like what is SAGIE and how might that be different, my hope is that it will really be sustained through not only like the previous speaker was talking about, like theoretical agreement or philosophical agreement on, you know, what makes a great community and what sustains it, but the practices that, you know, govern human behavior. And so I think having structures and definitions of, you know, what type of behavior is rewarded and belongs and what doesn't, and kind of, you know, where might things differentiate depending on what you are looking for in the community is probably a better way to do it, because I think SAGIE and I both got blacklisted off of a previous ecosystem for just posting and trying to contribute resources with no expectation of anyone paying us or anything like that, which I found really disappointing. And so I hope that this becomes a place where people can actually share resources and contribute and uplift each other and move away from that scarcity mindset. So there might be multiple people involved in a specific sector with specific solutions, but that doesn't mean that you all can't win.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Yeah, so we actually met, and she is one of the prime examples of one of my philosophies is what you give is what you receive. And she posted that she was looking for a job after being laid off from a very prestigious job. And I immediately came out to help, and we formed this incredible relationship. And this is actually a great topic for the first a great point for the first topic, which is the collaboration models and why having communities that don't allow to communicate or have competitive elements to them. So thank you so much for introducing yourself. Marcelo.
Okay, my turn. Hello, everybody. As I said, I'm from Argentina. I have been working and helping startups for over 15 years to grow their business and expand internationally and basically scale. I started out as founding a tech startups and venture capital law firm in Argentina. Then became chief legal officer of a cybersecurity company with operations in over 20 countries, head of strategy of Oracle MSP, and then the CEO of a fintech project in Latin America. So all that experience helped me really understand how to build a company, cross-border scale, what are the pitfalls and what are the challenges ahead, and the path forward for startups from for their international expansion, fundraising efforts, and basically to really build a company, not only focusing on how to build a good product, but also how to build a business. So I'm trying to help founders to understand what's ahead, what they need to do, how to think strategically. Some key decisions make a big difference. So that's what I'm trying to do, and helping on a day-to-day basis founders achieve their goals. So well, I'm very happy
Awesome.
to be here.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Marcelo. And today I would actually love to hear from you about the regulatory aspects, because you're coming from a lot of years in the legal world, and the differences between Latin America, because you've been spending your whole life there, moving here to Miami quite recently, and what are the differences there and how we can kind of learn from the different ecosystems to make both ecosystems thrive. So thank you so much. Liraz from Israel, which, by the way, she's supposed to go to a wedding right now, but she showed up just for this. I really appreciate that.
Actually, I'm outside the wedding, but maybe wait with it with the dessert and relax. It's more important. It's also a celebration for me. Thank you, SAGIE.
You're a little bit cut off. Everyone can hear okay, or?
No.
It's John.
No.
It's getting cut off.
No.
I think Iran
A
is
little
impacting
jittery.
her voice. Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
All right, go ahead and try. Worst case, maybe you can go to the wedding to get some Wi-Fi.
I don't think so. No, it's a bad Wi-Fi. It's not the strongest thing here. But first of all, hi everyone. I'm from NIT Found, which is Early Technology Found. I'm the manager of the ecosystem, and we believe that to find one unicorn, you need a great ecosystem. If you really want to succeed, and make a collaboration between Academy Center in the north of Israel, a huge company, health center research and startups and startups. All of us together empower and also for Israel, because we believe that North of Israel is the best place now for investment in startups. So this is our mission, because I really believe in the North of Israel. It's an amazing place. It's not only Tel Aviv, for no, Tel Aviv, it's not for investors. Everyone come to Israel and they think that they will stay in Tel Aviv beach, and all the startup will come to them. And we try to show everyone that investors should come to the North of Israel. There are so many startup companies, so many youth. They already succeed. And the ecosystem is amazing. It's amazing because everyone are working together. It's not a competition. I have like two health Rambam health.
Yes, I think you're breaking up a little bit. So maybe
Okay. So
maybe we can get back to you if you're getting a little bit closer to the wedding and get some Wi-Fi. But yeah, I would just add on Liraz. She is an incredible woman. I don't know why, but every time I talk to her, she makes me smile. And we talked about the ecosystem in Israel is thriving. It's the startup nation for a reason. But there's this misconception that the ecosystem in Tel Aviv is the highlight. But apparently there's multi-billion-dollar companies up north and also multi-billion-dollar companies in the south. So that creates some sort of an illusion. And we're not just talking about different countries or different continents, we're also talking about different locations within the same region. So this is a very interesting topic to talk about. And yeah, Anatoly, let's hear that from Texas.
I want to be the next one. Can you pick up on somebody else?
Okay. Yeah.
I don't mind. I'm
Steven.
joking. So, hi guys, Anatoly. I'm like I mentioned in the chat. I was born in Russia, sliced by Israel for 16 years, almost 20 years in Texas. I'm in my background in financial technology. It's called today fintech. Payments processing, fraud prevention, billing, web, mobile, all above. Through my system, trillions of dollars processed monthly. Several years ago, during the COVID, we created with one of my friends simply a WhatsApp group of people that somehow related to high tech. They can be developers, they can be product managers, they can be CEOs, they can be sales. To answer on what we really trying to do, we don't have much success for gathering together. But when we have success, we trying to bring people not just to meet, but also to have some added value. So like we brought somebody who has spent some time in Amazon building something to do with generative AI. We brought somebody who makes simulators for airplanes. And basically our idea is constantly to educate people by using one of the people from our network to share something he does for living. Thanks a lot. Looking forward.
Awesome. Anatoly,
I'm on
thank you
LinkedIn.
so much.
I can share my phone number. I can share my website. Is very classic, anatolyshevtsov.com. Nice to meet you, all of you.
We'll make sure that everyone sends out their information by the end of the call so we can all connect. So Anatoly, I would actually like to hear from you later on about the cultural aspect. This is actually a topic for the future, for a future session, but the cultural aspect, because you're essentially building an Israeli tech ecosystem in Dallas.
Correct.
And I was thinking, you remember I sent out this Angeles investor Dallas city lead, and I really wanted the Latin America and Israeli culture to kind of like join forces. So I would like to hear more from you, how open and welcoming we are or not, and see how it works out. Now, the next up is from London. Stephen.
Hello. Despite being in London, as you can probably guess, my accent's American. I've been in London for 20 plus years. I came here originally to do a PhD and was only supposed to be here long enough to do the PhD and have kind of ended up staying here. Probably the shortest way to describe what I do is I'm a writer, an academic, and strategic advisor. My interest in this group is because I'm really interested in what I would call the sociology, philosophy, and psychology of ecosystems, how it is that they emerge, why they emerge, grow, and collapse over time. And also then looking at how ecosystems relate to the larger environments in which they operate in. My PhD work was on how copyright law as an ecosystem was dealing with the emerging technological, economic, and cultural changes that were happening in the beginning of this century and have continued on with AI. I also am a science fiction writer working on my second novel. As far as strategic advisor, I've worked in transformation broadly in the US, UK, Europe, helping organizations get real value from their data, AI, digital technologies, whatever was the flavor of the moment over the last 20-some years.
Amazing, Stephen. I will just note that we had this amazing conversation the other day about the transitions of society in a way, different breakpoints when certain things happen, whether the industrial revolution and then the internet boom, and then social media came out and ChatGPT came out, and now the kind of like normalization of AI, and how it not just shifted people and how they think and how they do business or how they build their relationships, but also the effects on how it creates, shapes ecosystems, and what makes them thrive and what makes them fall. So this is an amazing topic that we probably have a whole session just on that. Okay, so Greg Horowitz.
What is ChatGPT? I'm joking, guys. I'm joking.
First of all, I have to say, who was the woman who spoke earlier? She had the best setup I've seen. I thought I was watching a live podcast.
Sandra.
Yeah, Sandra.
Yeah, that was awesome. Anyway, I'm Greg Horowitz. I'm in Miami. It's like my background was initially in startups when I lived in New York. I moved down to Miami in 2015, and for most of that time, I've been focused on various aspects of I pivoted into kind of economic development and ecosystem building. First for the Israeli consulate here, I was director of economic affairs. Then for the Miami-Dade Beacon Council, which is the county's economic development partnership, and for the last 2 years on my own. And I have particularly been focusing on healthcare and the healthcare and life sciences industries, and building community and innovation ecosystem there. And the two things that, well, the main thing I'm going to talk about today is how events, curated events, and thoughtful events are really the cornerstone for building community. And then the other point that I kind of just want to make is just because I hear it a lot in Miami, probably not less so maybe in bigger markets, is like, it's not a competition. It's not, I mean, not just among different like stakeholders, but it's not a competition among cities and markets, because it's not, there's never going to be a point where, you know, Miami gets a prize and you're the new Silicon Valley. It's all about just within each ecosystem. It's just building and being the best, whatever it is, you know, the best Miami it can be, or the best New York, or the best Tel Aviv it can be. So, excuse me, I'm coughing a lot. But anyway, that's those are a couple of my things that I plan on getting into today.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Greg. Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think we need to realize that Miami, on its own, is an intersection and a global business hub, not just for tech, but for life science and space and travel and hospitality. There's a lot going on here, and one of the things that I'm aiming to do with SAGIE over the years is to kind of create a standardized ecosystem format, like a blueprint that we can essentially duplicate into different cities or to different regions, um, because this is how economies thrive, essentially. It's not just to have competitive flows. And then the other thing is also you're running life sciences events, bringing a lot of interesting people around really important topics. So I would also like to hear from you on the collaborative side on partnering up with different ecosystem builders or community managers, because I've sensed that there's a lot of competition. People are like afraid of sharing sponsors or things like that. So instead of bringing people together, they're separating them into different isolated groups. Um, so we'll talk about that. Sean from Canada, are you back with us?
Hello, sir. Yes, I am.
How about you introduce yourself? Tell us,
I would love to. Hi,
tell
guys.
us a
My
little bit
name is
about
Sean.
sophisticated Americans.
Sophisticated Americans. There you go. / wink wink Canadians. Uh, I'm a Canuck from the Great White North. I work in a global capacity. I've been working in healthcare for the last 26 years. I run 3 companies: physician recruitment, digital health consulting, and also a medical device and surgical distribution company. Um, it's kind of interesting. Like I work a lot with surgeons and specialists every day, and I have a few companies that I'm a co-founder in, and in tech. And then I'm working with surgeons as the other founder. And it's interesting that you talk about an ecosystem, because I find that it's imperative to have that in any sort of part of the world, because I always look at it as how economy started. Maybe I'm used to watching my westerns all the time, but I mean, every small town turns into a large town, right? And it all starts with the concept of sharing and providing services and providing wealth and knowledge. And everyone's a subject matter expert to their own degree. I mean, I find it's imperative to be able to have open mind when you're sharing with your different skill sets. I've worked a lot during the pandemic. I was working in hospitals all the time, and one of the things I found is that fear buying became a really common denominator in commerce, and I find it's still that way. So, talking about competition, I think competition is very healthy. I think it keeps us all on our toes. But when competition comes down to the point of you're afraid to share anything with other people for fear of them taking your client, fear of them taking your assets, I mean, it gets kind of hard to like, well, when are you going to be able to actually share, right? So I think this is a healthy community created SAGIE, and I think it's an opportunity for people. I mean, I work a lot in Canada and the U.S. and now working with you and some of the people I've met from Israel, Dubai, Miami, UK, I think it's great, because like you never know who your next opportunity and client or partnership is, right? So this is very exciting. I can go on for hours about what a healthy ecosystem is, but I don't want to have everyone leave the call so soon. But I'm
Thank you
always
so
happy
much.
to.
Thank you so much for your feedback, Sean. Yeah, since we met, I kind of practiced the collaborative spirit and just, I mean, in general, I always make introductions for people without expecting for anything and just creating opportunities for people. And I think this is how a healthy ecosystem should be, instead of like just focusing on what can I get in return, right? Because it comes back to you. So thank you so much for that. And Jack, you're the last speaker that we have today from Dominican Republic. how about you introduce yourself and what you're building?
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Sagi, for the introduction. Not introduction. My name is Jack Mateo. I'm from the Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. I do see familiar faces, not only Sagi. So,
Jack, by the way,
Amelia,
can you start your camera so everyone can see how beautiful you are?
I don't have a camera, and I'm not beautiful. So, I see Amelia, I see Yulia, and of course, I see Sagi. During my trips in Miami, it was such a pleasure to meet them as part of the Miami technological ecosystem, which I studied for over 3 trips in December, February, and April. And pretty much about me, I am running a emerging nonprofit foundation that plans to, replicate the successful Miami ecosystem with by coordinating actors, by promoting the startups, by having spaces of articulation of plans, and also diagnosis by sectors or industries. So that's basically the whole idea moving forward this next few months. Hopefully, this will end or start in February or March with the first Dominican AA Forum, which we are coordinating or pushing in the background, and waiting for the final certificate of our foundation to start making the right steps, and knocking the right doors at the embassies and so on.
Thank you so much, Jack. Yeah, it was a great time meeting you very briefly, but we followed up after you went back to DR. And what was really interesting for me to learn about your ecosystem is the regulatory aspect of how hard it is to bring people together. And you need to form an actual nonprofit and get some recognition just to make an impact and connect people. So I'd love to hear your take on that.
Perfect.
Now I see some really cool people that I've heard a little bit about what you do, and but I would love to actually start a conversation here. And in the future, if you're interested, feel free to reach out. We'd love to talk more about what we do at SAGIE, and also host you in the next events. So let's start with the first question, which we briefly, everyone kind of like touched upon that. The collaboration models. So most ecosystems claim to be collaborative but they actually operate in a competitive way. So I would like to hear from you guys how collaboration actually works in your ecosystem, what it looks like in reality, and what is like the mechanism that works in your ecosystem to bring people together, and where it breaks down. So just to keep it short, let's have about 1 minute for each person, and we'll get on to the next question. So Amelia, you're muted. There you go.
So as you were talking, what came to me is, I know we like each other. The question is, can we make coordinated decisions when money, visibility, ownership, and risk are on the table? And one thing that I have found from the ecosystems that I've been navigating is that a lot of time that competitiveness does not come from bad intention, but it's actually unclear incentives. The people say ecosystem, but in reality, they are measured by institutional wins of the sorts. Who gets the funding, who gets the money, who gets the visibility, who owns the relationship, who gets the credit. So collaboration all of a sudden becomes very fragile. And like somebody was saying, they even lead to some ecosystem disappearing and vanishing because the ecosystem does not have a shared decision structure. And I think that goes with what you were saying earlier, that you want to achieve some kind of a standardization or uniformity, so that instead of competing, we start collaborating and owning different kind of parts of the ecosystem, and knows who was going to go after what, versus everybody towards the same thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amelia. I would like to keep this dynamic. So if anyone wants to follow up on that, just pick up the conversation from there.
I think it's great, Sagi, and I couldn't agree with you more, Amelia. I mean, I worked in healthcare. I have so many different types of dynamic personalities and education and expertise. But I mean, I find with AI now, everyone's in a race to some capacity, and it's kind of funny that when you still look at what works and what doesn't, I mean, it's having a shared common goal. Because I've been in some projects where, and especially when you're working as an entrepreneur, right? Everyone shows up. You're not making any money. It's a value share. It's an expertise share. But then when you get into about 30, 60 days, it's a question of, well, am I the only one doing all the work, or am I the one, so you really have to, I think it's really imperative before you start a project in the discovery phase that you have a common goal, that you have like a project outline, that you have shared deadlines. And then it's a question of, is it the right fit or not for you before you move ahead? So I couldn't agree with you more.
Awesome. I think since you mentioned the AI here, how about we hear from Stephen?
Funny enough, I was actually going to talk about a healthcare situation, just to completely
Guys,
keep
what
things
is AI? I'm joking.
I've seen this actually on LinkedIn all the time. People are not aware of what Claude is.
Yes, and what is ChatGPT? Yes, surprise.
So,
but I believe all of us know what is somewhat about AI, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Go ahead, Steven.
So I was in San Francisco in the 1990s working in healthcare at the height of the AIDS epidemic there. And I was part of the emerging ecosystem that came in response to that. And being there, then at the beginning of the dot-com boom, and then also seeing it play out in Washington and London subsequent. One of the things that struck me is that the environmental trigger for an ecosystem is extremely important. With the AIDS epidemic, it was very clearly and very physically evident that people had to come together to solve the problem, particularly given the political situation at that moment. So there was a lot of collaboration and community and sharing of resources in those early days, as people were trying to come together to solve, basically an existential crisis in that area. And then, and those people, those early activists, if you like, those various groups that came together started to then bring in more and more institutional players, the hospitals, the pharmaceuticals, et cetera, and gradually built out a system that was, led to the containing of HIV and AIDS in San Francisco. In contrast, the kind of like startup ecosystem is built around a certain amount of competitiveness, in the sense that everybody wants to, there's an incentive to become the unicorn. And I think that plays into a lot of what I see when I've worked in that space and worked with startups. There is a certain amount of sharing, but at the end of the day, you're going after, funding. You're trying, the ethos is of success, and it's very personal in some ways. So there's a tension that comes, and I think it's kind of interesting then to see what's the origin of the ecosystem and how that influences then its development.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Steve. I can listen to this for hours, so we just gotta keep rolling. So next up, I think Marcelo, since Stephen mentioned unicorns and you've seen a bunch of unicorns there in Latin America, tell us a little bit about that.
Um, well, before getting there, I was thinking basically how collaboration models and competitiveness interrelates one to each other. Basically, from a collective standpoint, usually you see that the individuals start connecting with each other with a competitive framework, but at the end of the day, they are part of an ecosystem, and they are collaborating also in building those relationships and everything that comes with it. So I see that there's a very intrinsic, like you will see that competitiveness and collaboration are also intertwined in how they work with each other. And basically, ecosystems to thrive, they need collaboration. Humans are what we are because of collaboration, but also because of competitiveness.
Right.
I think that this
Awesome.
comes to raise questions of who we are as a species. So it's very deep. I think that the collaboration, how collaboration works together with competitiveness, and the individuals trying to, as hard as they can, to I don't know, gain their space, but also they are working together, and we are as a species building collaboratively
Sorry
every
about
day.
that.
So I don't know, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's actually very interesting, and I would like to Sandra to take this from there, because there's this intertwine, between between collaboration and competitive. Where is the fine line between that?
So for me, I think it really depends on the person and the situation. And in all my work, you'll always hear me note that context drives everything else. But I think when you're talking about, an ecosystem and, a virtual or digital community where people are able to communicate via, WhatsApp chat and connect on LinkedIn and do all of these other things, there's different levels and different contexts in which we're even talking about this. But I'll kind of zoom out more broadly. Let's say you're in the WhatsApp chat and you're in one of the, community groups, and you're, sending out a message or interacting with other messages. By default, like, we all have our own personalities. We all have our own life experiences that create the lens through which we interpret other people's actions and how we think we're conveying ourselves. And it's really difficult to be able to tell. A lot of times in like written messages, if there's no audio, there's no nonverbal behaviors being able to support, someone's communication, it becomes difficult, right? So we have limited signals that we can work off of to kind of diagnose what's happening and understand someone completely. And I think most people have their own views of the world, right? Whether you think people are generally good, generally bad, or somewhere in between. People can be trusted. People can be trusted on their face. People can be trusted only after, demonstrated behaviors. Everybody has those things kind of pre-wired into them. And I think what's important for everyone when we're talking about community engagement or any communication in general is self-regulation. Are you in a mindset where you can pay attention and actively listen and probe without being triggered yourself, right? Are you being able to meet that moment with compassion, understanding, and kind of even if we're not listening because no one's talking and there's no voice message, but we're reading, are we, listening to understand versus give a response? If you are not in that mode, my view, and I don't run SAGIE, this is SAGIE's kind of rule here, but I don't think you should be engaging. And I will constantly get messages from him that I'm not engaging enough, or why didn't I respond to this one thing? And I have a lot going on in my own life. I don't feel that it's appropriate for me to be, communicating or responding to things in there if I can't really give it my full attention and I can't show up as, my ideal self to give to other people. And so there might be a timeline delay. But I think it's better to be able to engage when you are self-regulated than when you're struggling, right? Because you might, see something or hear something or read a message or an email and kind of take it the wrong way and run with it, right? And so I think there's a lot of that we've seen in previous communities, where even the act of, me offering free help to people and offering to do a free webinar to people who have been impacted by layoffs got, turned into something completely different, where I was asked not to communicate without prior approval anymore. And I think the, message that they received versus what I sent was, I'm going to try to, get people's attention from this community and then take them out of it into my own context and, take the engagement away, which really was not the case. I would have been happy to do it on their platforms or share the video or go live from there. But that was just the initial interpretation. And then it wasn't until after where the person kind of sent me this weird message, what's your authority on this topic anyway, blah, 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 blah. And then they learned and they were like, oh, we'd love you to, do some other stuff. And I'll talk to our partners in San Diego or whatever. And I was like, well, no, thank you. You already treated me like garbage. And whether or not that's your true self, I'm not going to continue to communicate with you, because that was a really bad first impression. And if that's the first thing I'm seeing is that flag, I'm done. And so I think overarching things, it's that. And are you actually intending to be here to collaborate? And then what does collaboration look like for you? When you look at any kind of communication, an agreement, do we both have the same definition of what collaboration looks like for us? And I think, again, it goes back to the structure and defining things, even in your own relationship. So if it's about funding, if it's about a shared marketing strategy, co-sponsoring an event, the more you can define those, the better it gets.
We'll talk about funding in a minute. Thank you so much for your insights on this. And I think one thing that really differentiates our community compared to other communities is that I don't expect people to be in their best selves, and they can communicate, because this is what a community is for, to communicate. It's literally in the word. And I think that the more you're trying to give people from your expertise, you're creating a bidirectional flow of value, and it comes back to you. So even if you're offering something for free with an incentive to create more clients, I don't see there's any issue with that. So I'd love to hear more about that. We'll talk about that in the future.
But for Sandra, every time when you want to do something good, be ready to be impacted dramatically, okay? Unfortunately, okay?
Anatoly, since you already started talking, how about you take it on from there?
What is the what do you expect me to tell you? I read the collaboration models, right? But what I see mostly expected from ecosystems, and specifically in high-tech industry, it's not about. It's about helping to find a job. Okay, doesn't work. Okay, so what I would expect or have a success with is that people will be much more open to help to others in their challenge.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically what I think about if something like this would be able to be
it's
available
excellent
on SAGIE's platform, on SAGIE's ecosystem is networking. And for example, if one of us is looking for a new job, okay, at least people would try to run an extra mile to help him or to help her, right? Maybe they cannot help. For example, if somebody is working in a, I don't know, in a technology company for educational technology, okay? Somebody else is looking for a job in financial technology, okay? Maybe the guy who is working in educational technology doesn't have the job for somebody in financial technology, but maybe he has a friend that he can refer and something potentially could happen. This is basically what I think about collaboration models. Wasn't expected from me to tell, but still I said it out loud. This is what I expect. But collaboration is how to help each to other in the main challenge in today's day to find a new job.
By the
Awesome.
way,
Thank
I
you.
agree 100%, Anatoly.
Maybe I'm a little bit confused. I thought that we were talking about collaboration and competitiveness from one identity, the ecosystem, versus the individuals. Almost like the whole group in front of, let's say, attracting talents and attracting investments. And
Correct. We will talk about the access to capital and talent and retention topics in a bit, but I also think it in a sense it also relates to how ecosystems are formed in a collaborative or competitive way, because let's say in terms of helping each other find jobs, that creates some sort of friction because you might give up on an opportunity. So that is this is actually a mindset that can hinder the progress of an ecosystem or make it thrive. So I think there's a point to that, just not in the right slide. But thank you so much for that, Anatoly. I appreciate that. Anyone else want to talk about the collaborative models in their ecosystems, or we can move on to the next question?
Maybe I would like to add something to the discussion. Mainly, I think it's all about incentives and on how you foster more collaboration or more competitiveness within an ecosystem. And also, we can discuss on how different ecosystems can collaborate with each other, which are the incentives for collaboration and for competitiveness. That's what probably decides what's going to happen. So usually what you need to focus is on if I want this to be more collaborative, the ecosystems between themselves or the people within an ecosystem, which are I am offering the right framework, the right incentives for people to collaborate more or to compete more. I think that is a key question to ask yourselves. I don't know what your thoughts on that.
Basically, it's the foundation that you're setting for your ecosystem, whether it's to collaborate more or be more competition.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great point. Since you're already in the groove of talking, I would like to hear from you about the access to capital and in your perspective, because you've been spending so much time in the Latin American ecosystem, what is the difference, the key differences between the deployment of capital or misalignment or the inaccessibility or conditional reasons for getting access to capital in Latin America compared to the US?
Wow, that's a good question. Basically, you'll see that it's way harder for a Latin American startup to access capital, and it's a very like the amount of capital that it's available, it differs a lot. Usually, Latin American startups try to reach out to US VCs for investment. And many times they say basically, well, are you operating in the US? Do you plan to do business in the US? And many times they are not interested in companies that do not have the US market within their international expansion strategy. That's one thing that you usually see. But what it's very important to understand is that Latin America is, you have over 20 countries in Latin America, very different one to the other culturally wise. There might be similarities, but there are a lot of deep differences. So to understand Latin America, it's a market that usually brings a lot of opportunity, because the US is, for example, a very competitive market. It's usually a red ocean, and while Latin America usually is more like a blue ocean of opportunities, but it's harder to execute those opportunities in Latin America, because you don't have all the infrastructure. You have it's a smaller or market in a way, but it's also because it's so complex, because you have so many different countries, different cultures.
That that is there are some great points, and I would love to expand on that in a future cohort where we're going to talk about the different cultures. And I remember one time when I told someone, "Oh, this country is in Latin America," and they're like, "Oh no, we're our own entity, we're our own like state. So we pride ourselves in our language, we pride ourselves in our culture. It's very different." So this is also is an important topic to talk about. I would actually like to bring Jack into the conversation here, because he is also from Dominican Republic. So your experience, mostly from Argentina, may differ from what he's been experiencing in Dominican Republic. Jack, you there?
Yes, sir.
Can
I'm
we
here.
get? Oh, there you are. Yeah. Did you hear the conversation?
Yes. Well, I hear about the roadblocks for I mean, how is perceived the ecosystem and how to build it, and what are the constraints about building the exact ecosystem in the city or country that we are in, right?
It's mostly about the cultural difference, and more of like the access to capital aspect
Oh
here.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
in the Dominican Republic, the access to capital is very limited. It's very far from Miami, where it stands now as one of the highest emerging ecosystems. Same happens with Israel. We're very distant for gathering any type of capital to actually, make the research or even to push startups. So that's, I mean, as I mentioned at the beginning, the foundation pretends to be a channel to actually create a strategy that we can build from scratch to get to the point where we actually raising that capital and building the ecosystem to something similar in the likes of Israel, and also, of course, Miami, parts of Silicon Valley, and other successful models in the United States and other parts of the world. So yeah, that's one.
Awesome.
So they're
Thank you
like,
so much for your insight, Jack.
yeah. So it's basically stage 0.
I get it. Well, let's
May
see
I
how
say
we
something
can.
about access?
Yeah, of course.
So during last year, I tried to several companies to raise, okay, connection between. Somehow I can hear myself.
You're good.
You're good, okay. So So I tried to learn by myself through the process. What does it mean to raise funds if one day I will require, okay? I will be in the position of founder. So what I've learned, that investors, potential investors, private equities, different kind of ventures are locked in to some particular industries or some particular functions, okay? So I try to help to a guy who was able to build an ecosystem or platform around connected vehicles. The idea was, or still, that all of us as a vehicle owners will be able to use our vehicles as almost like an Apple wallet to purchase fuel, order food, reserve parking, pay for toll, reserve service time, have some reminders about maybe to buy new wheels because you drove so much. So what I've learned about investors, all of them are I'm trying as much as possible not invest, basically by giving hard time to the founders. If you don't have AI in your model, don't talk to me. If you look, we are investing just in Series B. If you already raised for Series A, show us how much money you made in your cash flow. If you located in Israel, look for an investor in Israel that has a bill that investing just in Israel. If you are in America, Israelis are not going to invest in you because you don't have office in America, in Israel. So this is basically the access maybe is available, the money are there, okay? And it's very difficult to sell your own product by fitting the profile or interface the profile that's expected by the potential investor. This is basically my experience.
I think early stage founders or even founders in later series need to do a lot of research of how they can access certain capital and understand, first of all, the differences between types of investors, like private equity, angel, VCs, family offices, etc. And then also try to identify what categories these investors are interested in deploying capital to. Where are they operating globally, if they are actually deploying capital recently. So there are a lot of factors here. And it's not just, giving a hard time to founders. They're also looking at the market currently and what it's actually looking for, whether it's emerging technologies using AI or deep tech or etc. And also about the current stage of the startup, how long it's been operating, because I've heard about incredible startups out there that have been operating for 5 years, and because they've been in the market in development for such a long time, it wasn't really appealing to certain investors when we're talking about more of the bigger venture capitalists. Speaking of, I would actually like Liraz to talk. Hopefully she has better connection now. From your standpoint, because you're in Israel, there's a lot of capital being deployed in Israel. And you, as actually someone who operates a fund, can tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, I think our major problem is not it's not about the investor. Everyone wants to invest in Israel.
How about you will maybe turn off your camera, by this way your quality of your conversation.
Yeah, maybe that will help.
Increase. I'm not trying to think outside of the box. It's usually the thing.
Close my camera and then we have better. Okay, so now can you hear me better now?
Let's hope so.
Okay, so I think that our major problem is who is going to be the first, because okay, I'm in. It sounds amazing, great. I'm in, but I will be the second one. Who is the first? So that's a great a problem, I think. So to find the first one, we jump into the sea. because there's so many investors that waiting and they want to invest in the Israel, but no one of them wants to be the first one. So that's what I'm dealing on these days.
That actually is very similar to what's happening here in Miami. One of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of investors are not looking to deploy capital. They're only doing soft commits. And this actually brings us to the next question, which is talent access and retention of these talents. Whether are we talking about students who just graduated, or are we talking about startups that are establishing their businesses in a certain location and then they're transitioning to a different state? So when you mention that no one wants to jump right in, this came up to mind. So let's hear it out. I think from Sandra. I would love to hear your opinion about that, because you've been in the academic world for a very long time, and you've been doing a lot of research on the talent access and retention. So I would love to hear from you. Sandra, are you there? Okay. How about we hear a little bit from Greg? Do you want to touch on the previous point, or the talent access and retention, or you have a different topic in mind?
I can talk about talent. So the interesting thing in Miami is, you know, if you talk to people who were here a long time ago, it was like it was always the issue was always, and this is, you hear this all the time. It's like, how do we keep the people? How do, you know, people graduate, they go away for college, they never come back, or they, you know, they whatever, they just can't wait to get out, or if they need to do whatever they need, the career they want to pursue, they always feel like they have to go elsewhere. Now that's changed a lot in Miami in the last 5 or 6 years. And first of all, a lot of the people have come back, but also a lot of new people have come here, and which has been really exciting. I would say that I still see, and I hear from companies that they still don't, you know, who have been in other markets and are hiring here, that they still, you know, I think it tends to be a lagging indicator, I guess is what I'm saying, is that, so it's, you know, as the other things have built up, the talent it just takes a little bit longer to catch up. So that's kind of been the situation here. Now, you know, so what lessons we can draw from that? I mean, the main thing I would say is just patience. It's not something that's going to change overnight, but you have to kind of do the spade work to
100%. I actually wanted to bring Amelia to the conversation because she's an expert in the enterprise world, and we've noticed Palantir and several other unicorns coming down here. We're seeing a lot of high ultra net worth people like Sergey Brin and Mark Zuckerberg coming down to Miami. So is that going to change how things are happening here in the talent perspective?
Absolutely. So thank you for that observation. These techno, bros are moving to town, and they're bringing, and they're coming for two things. They're coming because it's a tax haven for them, and the weather. They love the weather. They love the location of Miami.
Can't blame them.
There is a lot of money in Miami. The problem is not money. Their investments is not still following because capital follows clarity, and there's still not clarity. When the ecosystem, and that's what I was thinking, let's talk a little bit about a higher ecosystem umbrella. When the ecosystem is noisy, the capital becomes very cautious and does not invest. So the money still has, even though it's parked here or somewhere in the vicinity, has not been invested. Now, when it comes to the talent, is a little bit different. There has been a lot of hype, and a lot of these companies are going to bring some of their talents initially. But talent does not only live for money. They need to see that they can grow, that they're going to have meaningful work. Their families are going to be okay. There's going to be serious company. There's going to be serious culture in those companies. There's going to be credible mentors. There's going to be access to capital and a chance to build something that matters for themselves into the future. So there has to be a level of maturity for these talent to find the opportunities and to stay. And in addition to that, you have the education. I heard somebody recently saying, universities are still, for example, the finance, they're still teaching to be a financial advisor, to work in finance, instead of being taking the disruptive angle to education. So as ecosystems, I see a lot of amazing opportunities. For example, the ecosystem into Israel or the ecosystem into Latin America, because there's certain things that can happen then faster, that can fill up the pipe while the opportunities are here. But as an ecosystem that wants to keep talents, we really need to bring the conversation to a level where they feel that they're following something more than money and great weather.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your insights, Amelia. And we're looking at Greg's background. We can see Miami there, and there's it's a very dense city, a lot of traffic. And one thing that actually come to mind is the locations, the hubs of where the tech ecosystems occur. So most of it, at least here in Miami, is around Brickell and downtown Wynwood, and the traffic to get there is insane. So if you think about someone who runs a family life and he has kids back home, he has a wife, he wants to have this work-life balance, it's either he's going to have to locate himself in a very, very busy, noisy city, or he's going to have to stay for a very long time in traffic, and that actually can create some sort of friction, right? So, and that is the same way in Tel Aviv, and same way in New York. Speaking of New York, I would love to hear from Sandra, if you're back, and to hear from your perspective on the talent access and retention on the academic side.
That's a whole other event. But there's so much to unpack in terms of what's going on in academia versus the labor market, and I agree
let's try to keep it concise to like 2 minutes. And
well, I guess are you asking about the talent development coming out of the university and into the labor market, or are you actually asking about inside the university? Because those are different.
So from university to the labor market.
So if you're looking at the conversion of early career talent or people who are going through certifications or other professional programs back into the workforce, or kind of just transitioning across labor market verticals, the college to career pipeline is in a very stagnant place. And we look at the labor market, we have around 42% of college graduates who are underemployed, working in jobs that don't require their degree. So the labor market doesn't have enough openings for them. So I don't know that you could blame that on stagnation in the academy. I think the fundamentals of what needs to be taught, whether it's a finance program or something of the liberal arts and humanities, that is essentially what that early career education is for. The shelf life of skills is probably 6 months now, to compare to historically maybe 2 years for anyone finishing an educational program. And that's not really the purpose of higher ed. And so when we look at how do we convert talent and get them career ready for the things that are fast moving, right? The jobs that are fast moving and the pace of the local economy and that ecosystem, you have to look at internships and other forms of experiential learning. And if those opportunities are not available in the community, you will not convert them. And so that becomes probably more of a local ecosystem development between the local institutions, be it a community or a technical college or university, to the employers in the area. And those are things that you can do independently with very little red tape. And then if you wanted to go higher scale level, there are things that you can do like New York State did, which is offering free tuition to kind of middle class families as well, if they agree to stay and work in the state for 4 years after graduation. If the graduate moves, those automatically turn into loans. So something like the Excelsior program is more of a probably longer term political goal, policy goal, but there are things that you can do very easily to create relationships with key academic programs, career centers, other elements of higher education, especially if they happen to have a Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. So those relationships are easier to move, but the pipelines aren't going to grow if students can't get placed after graduation. And if there's a skills gap that's actually a skills gap and not an articulation of skills gap, which we often see cited in news, then that's up to the community to work with the institution, because the academy cannot change a curriculum without a very significant political campaign within the institution, especially if it depends on faculty senate. How many credits do people need to create a degree program? If you start trying to change any of that, I'm not going to say you won't be successful, but the odds are stacked against you, and that's a very long-term effort, high cost, and very low ROI. So if you're looking to develop skills, experiential learning is the way to go.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I've been traveling around different universities and colleges here in Miami, and I hear quite a few problems. But this is actually something that occurred to me: is that innovation centers and practical ways of education, experimental ways, are the way to go. Because right now we have this paradox in the academy: when you start going to university or college, and after the first year, you're already obsolete. So, and I would also love to bring some people from the municipality here in Miami to hear this out next time about the incentives of bringing students to stay here locally in the ecosystem, and keep them at home. Create some more opportunities for them and see if there's a way to evolve around that. Now we're going to fast forward around the regulatory landscape, and I think I would like to hear from very particular people here. First of all, Marcelo and Sean. So I'm just going to call you guys out. Sean, because you've been working for a very long time in the distribution aspect, there's some regulatory things that you might have noticed. So I would love to hear your insights about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It depends upon the industry. I mean, I learned a lot about logistics and supply chains during the pandemic, because I was sourcing products from Turkey, from Shanghai, anywhere and everywhere, right? Because hospitals were literally running thin every hour. And so regulatory was kind of pushed back a bit in terms of device classification. I work with different regulatory bodies, bringing product into, like, anything that has to go on a patient. We have to go through a regulatory process. But things have actually changed a lot in terms of, like, we have Health Canada, then we have the FDA. But what I've learned a lot is that with the I guess you want to say the geopolitical climate has really shifted the way a lot of the way countries are sourcing, the way trade is being done. Our prime minister has opened up a lot of different countries beyond US, because I won't say, but not many Canadians like the number 51 right now. But unless it's how many candles are on the birthday cake. But in essence, the reality is that it's a different dynamic and different economy. But regulatory landscape, it's actually been really interesting playing in digital health, is a lot. I've seen a lot of digital health companies that are coming from Israel, from the UK. They're coming into Canada to then get into the US. But then now they're realizing that it's an easier entry to Canada, but then to get into the US, a lot of them are taking the ISO approach and getting their SOC 2, or they're getting different sort of things that they need to kind of get, because data privacy is still a massive concern. So I don't know if that helped in the continuity here, Sagi. I could talk for hours. I mean, I'm familiar with the best classifications. So
I think this is a very important topic to kind of like unfold over time as well. But thank you for your insights on the healthcare perspective. And I wish we had him here, but we actually have someone in the community that helps companies to apply for grants internationally. So there are different kinds of ways to do this, and you really need to understand the regulatory landscape in order to make grants accessible for people worldwide. Whether you're located in Israel or you're located in Miami or located in Latin America, you can still have access to opportunities across shores, depending if you know how the regulation works. So I would love to hear from Marcelo, also because of your experience in helping companies expand from Latin America to other markets. And then we'll wrap up on this topic.
Hello?
Yep, can hear you.
Yeah, I got disconnected for 1 second. So regarding the regulatory landscape, well, it's always a key aspect of what you need to consider when you are trying to expand internationally. Regarding Latin America, as I said before, Latin America is quite complex. It's over 20 countries. Each has its own regulatory landscape. You need to first understand which countries have offered to you the best opportunity. It's going to be easier for you to adapt your business model to that country, not only considering the regulations that apply to your business, but also how all the other aspects will work in how you're going to be executing in each market. So you have a lot of complexity, but also again you have a lot of opportunity because of that, because it's not easy to be able to do it right in navigating all these different complexities, regulatory wise and also culturally wise. So it's when you are considering regulatory landscape, you need to go get, first of all, you need to have trusted advisors to help you understand these regulations, how they apply to your industry. If you come from a highly regulated industry like healthcare or financial services, most of times you will find that regulations are kind of similar in a way in how they protect the consumers, how they protect the people in connection with those industries. But when you're deciding on, okay, I'm going to be doing business in Latin America, you first need to understand, okay, which country is going to be the first one, and why I'm choosing this country. Is it because it's the biggest market in Latin America, like Brazil, or you will consider with the biggest Spanish-speaking country like Mexico, and why? Why would you choose that one? Which are the
Mhm.
regulations? What's the tax regime?
So
How
it's not just choosing which country or region I want to expand to, but in which order I want to do this in order to sustain my company.
correct, and also what's your strategy? Are you going to be servicing some markets from one market? What's going to be your international structure? What that makes more sense for this? How you're going to be adapting your business model to each market? You probably cannot just go do the same thing that you're doing in your market and replicate it just like that in a new market. That's
Correct.
usually a formula to uh, uh, to failure. So usually you need to understand what's the differences, how the market will react to your what you're offering, but also how is it regulated, what you need to do in order to uh, uh, try to avoid pitfalls and costly mistakes, because that's really what can because of course you need a big budget to expand,
Mhm.
even to a small market. You will need quite a big budget to start operations in a new country. And first of all, you need to try to do some soft landing and understand connecting with locals to really understand how to do business there. Otherwise, you will be incurring in lots of costly mistakes.
I would love to actually touch upon this and then conclude the conversation here. And thank you so much for your insights. I'm sure it can help quite a lot of founders, but also other people who are building ecosystems to understand like the approaches and the strategy on how to expand. Now, I've been working with a lot of founders since I've been building the ecosystem. I've been hearing a lot of people what they're struggling with and what they're building. And one of the key elements is actually the market expansion. They don't have this platform where they can reach out to certain people that can help them expand to new markets. So it's very resource extensive. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money and energy. And sometimes you need to book a few plane tickets to understand how the local environment operates, because you don't have the boots on the ground, which is something that we're going to actually build in SAGIE. This is going to be a part of the solutions platform. We're going to have a layer of market expansion, whether it's international, local, or national level. And then we're going to have people from different parts of the world that are going to help founders to expand to new markets, whether it's having ecosystem injection, or the strategy work, or the legal work, or the decision making, hiring talent, opening an entity, etc. So
What I can also add to that, Sagi, is that you don't need always to put boots in the ground to really
correct.
open a new office and set a foot in the other country to start doing business in that other country. Sometimes it's usually a good thing to try to work with partners, local partners, to start doing business in that other country, understand how they work. If you can service from abroad that country, what could be your offering, understand. Very important is to understand what are the tax implications of how you plan to do business, especially with regards to withholding taxes that may make impossible for you to service that country from abroad. But there's many things that you need to think strategically, and also the timing. When is a good time for you to go there? because that usually is key when you're growing, when you're expanding, and what's the opportunity in that country. Because sometimes, as I said before, you have some markets that are very competitive, but some others you find that you have a huge advantage in going there first. So that there are many questions that pop up and that you need to think how you're going to do this, how you're going to execute and to expand internationally. But it's very important for founders to ask themselves those questions before start burning the money. And also in regards to fundraising, this should be part of your roadmap. This, if you're going to be expanding internationally, you need to explain investors what are your plans, how are you going to do it, where are you, how much money you will be needing to do this, and what are the milestones and everything. So I hope this is helpful and triggers more questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm sure it is. I have a little technical issue that I can't scroll the presentation. But yeah, there's the Q&A part, which we're not going to get to. And I think we brought a lot of questions here. Probably picked a lot of your minds. So I think we can continue with that in our next conversation. I would actually like to hear out from the people who didn't participate, who didn't talk. How did you guys feel in this conversation? Did you feel like it was a collaborative work? Is there one thing that you learned today that you wouldn't be able to take out from a different conversation? I would love to hear out from you. I see Ladan and Gustavo, Omri, Sana. So feel free to share what your thoughts for a second.
Thanks it was great. My background is been working with Google Cloud. So it's interesting to hear the collaboration because in my opinion, they still need the human touch. So my role got affected because of AI, but they're not there yet. So it's really interesting. Whatever I'm thinking about was discussed today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We will send you an invoice later. I'm joking, guys. I'm joking.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I will actually share one story because of what you said about the human connection and AI. So I was actually offered to be joining this startup with the CTO of Google Global and the CTO of Miami-Dade College called Nebulae. It was a great startup. And I got the opportunity to join this room full of CIOs, Chief Innovation Officers. And there was a guy there called Michael Berta, brilliant guy, brilliant, what's it called? Like presenter. It was very concise. And we was talking about 7 different assumptions companies need to make to stay competitive in the day and age of AI. And one of these assumptions is we're not going to need the human connection anymore. We're not going to need to build relationships. So I'm an ecosystem builder. I connect people, and I'm a firm believer that we need this human connection, especially in the day and age of AI and social media. So I just took the mic in front of all these CIOs, and I'm not coming from a fancy academic background. And I introduced myself and I said, hey, listen, if I had to ask Geppetto or Claudio if I need to take the mic and speak in front of you, I'll probably get the answer no. But I did because I'm still human and I can make decisions and I have lived experiences and a culture that AI cannot replicate. So I think bringing all of us here together is a great example for that because everyone lives in a different part of the planet, or maybe we're neighbors, but we all have different opinions, we all have different experiences. And in order for us to move forward and thrive, we need to work together.
Absolutely.
Omri, I see you there. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Well, basically, thank you for everyone. Your knowledge is
Where are you
vast.
from, by the way?
I'm from Israel.
Wow.
I'm from Israel. I'm
Did you
building.
really ask Omri where he's from?
What? Sorry.
I was joking. Like, did you really ask
Ah.
Omri where he's from?
Yeah, we Israelis don't communicate so well, so it takes a bit of time. So thank you for the knowledge you passed here. What I do want to say is that in between the relationship in between the AI and the communication that we're talking about just right now, I understand there's a big difference, like in terms of how people conceive AI, what's the perspective of AI right now, and how it affects the market, and also how the future of AI and future of the communication between people will go. And this basically this is problematic for me. I don't know if anyone thinks the same, but really that's only my thoughts. But the human connection is really what is important here. Well, basically, I'm a machine, yeah, and we all are a different kind of machine. Everyone works different. Everyone operates differently, but still, the human connection is really imperative, and this is what we need to maintain and prolong. And thank you. That's all I got to say. And thank you for the information you brought.
Thank you, Omri. I appreciate that. I would love to talk to you later. We
Cheers.
also have Yulia here. She is also an ecosystem builder. I wish she would just join sooner, but I would have her talk. She's building the ecosystem of AI Salon, which is also a global community, bringing people together around AI. So I would love to hear your thoughts about this. If you're still there. I think I scared her off. Okay. Well, awesome.
Never happened before.
Never happened before. Listen, I'm, I usually
Sagi,
charm
thanks a lot.
ladies, but
Hello to
yeah.
everybody.
Let me just conclude this real quick.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
In terms of the what's next, right? So this was just the first session of the Global Cohort, and this is going to be a recurring monthly series every fourth week of the month. And the idea here is not just to, get off the cameras and carry on with your days. The whole point is for you all to connect and continue the conversation and build some things together. And then we can recap on this in future sessions. The next event is going to be on July 26th. And yeah, if you want to get some more information about what we're building at SAGIE, or have some more feedback and want to share your expertise and become a part of this conversation, feel free to reach out. I would love to talk to you and have you all part of the ecosystem. So thank you all for coming. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Sagi.
And
Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias.
have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Sagi.
Thanks. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yes, goodbye.